Okay, so this is the setup that I'm working with currently. I have my desk from Danger Fox. As you can see, I have 24 unit rack space here, which basically has this thing in it and this thing in it. So it looks a little silly, but I will be investing in filling this up and building the workflow. Okay, so I just got the PATCHBAY. I got the cables. I haven't unboxed it or set anything up yet. It's gonna go right here. I'm really excited about it. Okay, but before we get into this, I wanted to give a quick shout out to Greg GLASER. If you guys are from Nashville, you probably know him. He's like one of the top sales guys that I know of in general. But he was generous enough to set me up with the PATCHBAY, all of the cables that I needed, and I just wanted to give you a heads up if you are planning on investing in any audio equipment or any studio gear and you're looking for advice and you're trying to get the best possible deal you can get, reach out to Greg. I'm gonna put his info down in the description. Again, he hooked me up with this, so thank you so much, Greg. Reach out to him. I'll put all of his info down in the description. Thank you, Greg. And yeah, let's get this set up. Classic popcorn. Okay, so if you're unfamiliar with PATCHBAYs, there's essentially two different types of PATCHBAYs you can get as far as the patch cabling that you use. You can either get a 1/4" PATCHBAY or a TT PATCHBAY. And in this case, I went with the TT. This is the 48-point TT from Audio Accessories. The reason I went with this one, well, the specific reason is I wanted TTs, but I also wanted DB25 connectors in the back, and I can just pop things in and out and move them around in the future if need be, and it's a lot easier to organize. So the thing with the DB25 connectors is that each connector has 8 channels of balanced audio. I can connect, let's say, my Livewire XLR panel over here by my drums in 2 DB25 cables instead of 8 different connection points for 8 channels. It's just 1 bucket of 8, 2 buckets of 8. And then on the other side, you can choose if you want it to be XLR male or female connectors. So for each DB25, you have to plan like what's going to be on the other side of that and why, and then what's the relationship to how things are ordered and structured in the PATCHBAY. So for this PATCHBAY in this room, how I'm planning on using it specifically, I'm doing a lot of tracking, so I have 16 inputs, XLR inputs from my panel coming to the top first 16 row. And with this PATCHBAY, it's 48 points on the top and bottom, so technically it's a 96-point PATCHBAY. The way that it typically works is the top row is going to be outputs and the bottom row is inputs. So my outputs are the outputs of the microphone. So the microphone outputs to the panel, which outputs to the top row of the PATCHBAY, which then goes to the inputs of the interface. So out to in. For most of the PATCHBAY, sometimes with outboard gear, then you're gonna wanna do inputs and outputs. It really, everyone has sort of a different preference. On this PATCHBAY, what I'm doing is I'm going tie lines or mic lines out to interface inputs. So with the Apollo X8P, you have 8 XLR mic inputs. So those have mic pre's on them. And then on the X4, you have 4 mic inputs. So I'm going to have 2 separate input sections on the PATCHBAY. One is going to be 12 inputs for mic pre that are internal for the interface, and then I'm going to have 8 line inputs. And then after that, what I'm going to do is leave the rest of the PATCHBAY on the right side of it for external gear, which will be my left bucket on my desk, which is my external outboard gear. So any sort of mic pre's, I'll have inputs on the top row and outputs on the bottom row. It is very confusing, but once it's all done and it's all labeled, it will make sense. Okay, so now that I have a plan of where I want things to connect, I'm going to connect everything. So I have a bunch of DB25 to DB25 cables, to XLR female to XLR male cables, and hopefully I planned everything well enough so that when I go to connect the outputs from my snake to the mic lines, the female, everything lines up how I planned it. I made a spreadsheet so that I could literally just look at it and know which one I need to plug where. So we'll see how it all connects, how long it takes, and how much I can screw it up. Let's get this thing connected. Okay, so tie lines are all showing up at the top row here. The way that I have the patch bay configured is the top row, just for my tie lines, normals down into the bottom row, which means if I don't patch a cable into my tie lines, which are where my mics are plugged into, then the tie lines will automatically go into the interface mic pre inputs. So if I plug a mic into input 1 on my floor box over there, it's going to show up here and automatically go into input 1 on the internal mic pre of my interface, which is great. You don't even need patch cables. But what's nice is if you have external preamps that you want to use, you can grab your patch cable and patch into whatever the tie lines are. Let's say we'll grab 15 and 16 here, and we'll send it over into our external mic pre's. Now, when I patch into them, it's breaking the normal. Because it's half normal, it will no longer automatically go into the internal mic pre's. I can grab it, move that signal over to my external mic pre's, which are the warm audios over there, and get my levels using that. And then on the outputs, to get it back into the interface, I will patch into the external mic pre outputs into my line inputs of the interface. So I can go to my Apollo X, choose the inputs, switch it to line input, and then I have my signal from 15 and 16 going through my external preamps into the line input of the interface. So this way I get the best of both worlds. I can use the internal unison pre's on the Apollos, which are awesome, really, really great. And I can also start building external equipment as far as mic pre's, or if I want to have some compressors or whatever it is, I can grab those exact points, run it through the external mic pre's, and get a combination of different sounds. So my plan is to get another interface like the Apollo X16, which is all line inputs. And that way I can have 16 line inputs for external pre's and still keep the 12 unison pre inputs. So ideally what I'll be able to have is 1 through 12 just normal, and then I can use those, pick and choose whether I want to use a unison pre, or if not, then I'll go through 13 through 24 and have external pre's if I want to, you know, if I have a sweet collection of pre's, I can pick and choose, move those around however I want depending on what I'm recording. And then I can also insert, if I have, let's say, an 1176 or some distressors or something awesome, which, you know, fingers crossed, then I can insert that into the chain going into the line inputs of the Apollo and therefore into my whatever DAW I'm using at the time, which is so much easier than trying to climb under a desk and move XLRs around and trying to remember what's going where. And you just have it right here and it's spelled out hopefully clearly so that you can just easily move things around with a couple cables. Trying to plan all of this out is not as easy as I thought it was going to be. Actually, I thought it was going to be really complicated, and it was really complicated, but now that it's done, it's super nice to just have everything show up in one place. I don't have to go hunting for things around the room, and I can always verify by just looking at where things are connected, how my signal is running. So hopefully that's been helpful for you. This is the Audio Accessories 96-point TT Patch Bay. Super awesome, really, really easy to connect as far as, you know, plugging things in and getting it routed. If you guys know of any Patch Bay label templates or anything like that, let me know down in the comments. I did a spreadsheet, so I'll probably just in the meantime use that if I need to change anything. But yeah, that would be definitely super helpful. That was the only thing that sort of took, you know, a lot of experimenting and figuring out. Let me know what you guys think. If you have any questions, let me know down in the comments. Hit the like button if you guys like this video. Let me know if you guys have any questions. And thank you again to Greg GLASER. If you guys are looking to get any gear, Greg, I promise, will hook you up. He will give you the best price you can get. So Greg's links down in the description. Thank you guys, and I'll see you in the next video.